Hello and welcome to the show. Today we're talking to a company that powers video productions for literally billions of global viewers every day. With one of the widest range of production solutions around creating compelling and engaging news, weather, sports, entertainment, rock shows, education, corporate, houses of worship, you name it. Many more, I'm sure.
And the man with his name over the door is with us. We're delighted to welcome back to the show David Ross from Ross Video. Welcome, David. Good to see you again.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So, David, when we last spoke way back in May last year, we were discussing the likely short, medium, and even longer term effects of the pandemic on our industry. Can you give us a quick recap of the last 12 months for Ross and your customers?
Well, like everybody else, it's been a wild ride, full of uncertainty and moments of terror, and then things maybe sometimes not turning out as bad as we thought. I think right after the pandemic, we reconfigured the factory, made it so that it was two 12-hour shifts, basically separated and things like that, so that if we got COVID in one shift, it wouldn't impact the other shift, and we could continue to ship to our customers, which is kind of important to us and our customers. After we did that, we really realized that everybody was working from home in the company that wasn't doing productions and things like that, or they weren't in the factory, and we realized that we wanted to take care of some of our essential workers. And one of the things we did as a result of that is we instituted a minimum $20 minimum wage across Ross Video. And in Canada, the minimum wage is about $14 an hour, and and I think the living wage, which means if you've got a single earner with a small family, that was around $16 an hour, and we felt that was quite a low bar, and I didn't want people working in my company suddenly thinking about this that could be underneath a living wage. Even though, it was competitive market-wise for what we paid. So that was a significant change. We actually had a scare early on in the year. Our sales dropped to about half of what they were supposed to be for about a month or two. And so we went to, a 4-day week, and we did a 80%, pay for that as well. And it was actually quite popular in the early days of the company that we did that in the early days of the pandemic, because we created a concept called Lifeboat Ross, and because we didn't want to lose anybody, and we didn't want anybody to be hurt in the pandemic and with what happened. And so we did that, and then we saw that sales started to turn around and pick back up again. And so we went back on a 5-day week, and then we realized that with less travel, less trade shows, less all sorts of other things, that we're actually going to have a really good year. So we made all of our employees whole on top of all that, and then finished the year with a record year, bigger than the year before, and we also had quite a profitable year. So I shake my head, and 2021 looks like it's going to be an even better year than 2020.
Fantastic. No, it's good to know they're profitable, but also ethics. That's fantastic. That's brilliant. So do you feel this has been a little bit of a bump in the road, right? We've this year was somewhat of a distraction, and we'll get over it. But is this been a catalyst for fundamental change in how we work, do you think?
Yes and no. I was thinking about this. I was thinking about how everybody wants to have the big statement. Everything has changed overnight. It will never ever go back to the way it was before, and almost nothing really works that way. You see more options opening up, and some areas of our industry will take advantage of it, and some will go back to, I think, the way that they worked before, because it was more social, more efficient, more comfortable. And so, for certain events, say in a big OB van, for example, there is a certain feel of everybody being together, doing a really good production and not being remote. On the other hand, for smaller shows, for example, people want to be able to do more shows with less people for less cost. And we already had Remy. That wasn't revolutionary. All we've really done in some ways is we've taken the internet as a communication medium We've taken the internet for a communication medium and allowed people not just to work away from the venue, but to work away from everybody else at home. So we, for example, we will ship people production switchers, and they'll put it on their desk in their house, or on a tabletop, and they'll switch their show as if they're, in an OB van or in a studio. But I don't see us doing that every day, going forward for the next few years. It doesn't make sense to have a $100,000 control panel in somebody's, kitchen, So, it's going to be a bit of both. I think it depends on the level of the broadcast, what people want to pay, how efficient they want to be, the complexity of the broadcast, whether it's sports, whether it's news. I mean, if there's no real need for having decentralized crews on news, for example, going forward, it's not the same thing as traveling to a sporting event where, you're paying for hotels and meals and flights. Whereas news, you've got people who are working in town and they just drive and they go to where all the equipment is and they work with each other. So I think it's going to be a bit of everything.
Yeah. So you might have partially answered my next question there, David, on efficiency. I mean, that's been a huge theme within the industry at the moment, and it's seen with remote working, smaller production teams on site, and so on. What's Ross been doing to help customers work more efficiently?
Well, we've always had Overdrive. I mean, that's a product that's been around for 20 years. It still boggles my mind that there's news shows that are going on the air that don't use this technology that pays for itself in about a year. And it's interesting to see how that fared in the pandemic, because basically you're talking about, one or two people, maybe one, sometimes you've got an audio operator, but basically you've got one person in front of a computer screen. And they transition to working from home seamlessly, effortlessly. It's a lot harder to do a full control room for sure. Then of course, for the efficiency side of things and safety, robotics played a significant role as well. So certainly if you had something like Overdrive, you almost definitely had robotics in the studio. So you were a COVID safe environment that way. But on the other hand, if you're working with, if you didn't have Overdrive and you needed manual camera operators, we gave quite a few of our customers pan bar systems. So they were able to not use a joystick, but to instead have a pan bar where they had monitors right in front of them and they could control even more than one camera if they needed to, but in a different room, separated from the talent, but still being able to do it like a semi-manual operation. And that technology was really popular for a lot of basketball and tennis events and things like that we did for both for Ross Production Services, which is our production arm of the company, but also for our production customers as well. Being able to separate, the talent or the athletes from the camera operators and still get that real-time camera feel and responsiveness was huge.
That sort of feedback, yeah.
And I think another thing that we were able to do was the introduction of our Interstellar system, which comes in two flavors. Another one's called Ross Production Cloud. But in that case, that was like a communication system, similar to, you could say, what we're doing right now, using your remote production. But one of the things that what we're using right now, like I don't have a microphone in my ear. A speaker in my ear. There's no director that can talk to me. I have no talkback system to work with. We're kind of Skyping in a way, just with different technology. That is not a professional broadcast media for ongoing sort of use. So we created that sort of a system that went through the public internet basically. And it wasn't really using proprietary systems that sort of exist today that are, I think a lot more expensive. So that allowed us to do some really cool work. And I believe some of the work that we did with ESPN with that has been nominated for an Emmy. So that's kind of fun too.
Brilliant. So you say, okay, we've got Overdrive, we've got the latest, the video technology, the call technology. Let's say the importance of robotics, of automation, and have all been very important, keeping broadcasters alive. during the pandemic. How much of this, and yeah, referring back to a previous answer, how much of this is going to continue? You've developed a new product that, you know, that matches it. Is it going to continue, this video calling stuff?
Oh, I think so. You know, one of the things, sports is a big example of that, but interviews and things like that are another big example. I mean, in sports, you know, one of the problems is if you've got a one-day event, your crew spends a day traveling, a day setting up and doing the event, tearing it down again, and then another day traveling. So you can do one event per 3 days, you know, typically. Right. Hopefully you've got a full weekend, so maybe you can do 2 events or several events on site, but still it's not great. With remote productions, most of your crew could do 3 events a day, and over a 3-day period do 9 events. So it's almost a 10-to-1 improvement in efficiency, being able to work remotely. So giving them more tools than they even had before the pandemic to do this more effectively, I think is going to really make sure that this is something that's going to happen, you know, forever going forward, for the right levels of events at the right price points and things like that. From the point of view of robotics, it's kind of interesting because one of the things we did as well is putting robotic cameras with pan bars into the stands was another interesting thing. One of the real reasons we wanted to do that first, in some cases now, was to keep the camera operators away from perhaps any fans that might be sparsely located, and inside the stands. Yeah. But going forward, that's expensive real estate. You know, you could have paying fans, near where the robotic camera head is. So being able to move, a camera person out of the stands and into a more remote location can actually be a profitable solution as well. So some of the same technologies may morph, repurposed in new ways.
Some years ago, I seem to recall you mentioned surviving a recession. It's important to have diversity in your products. Now, this has got to be similar to a recession in a lot of ways. Does this formula still work for you? Your product, you're doing the big boys all the way to the bottom?
Yes. So from the point of view of being recession proof, well, we grew we've grown in every single recession since 2001. Yeah. And I think the fact that we've intentionally diversified in every way that we can possibly think of while having an integrated solution has worked extremely well for us. I mean, one concept is during a recession, people still have money to spend, but they spend less money in smaller chunks. Yeah. So the idea of instead of selling a high-end production switcher, you sell a lower-end production switcher and a whole bunch of gear cards. At the same time, being geographically distributed has also been very good for us. When China was doing, roared back, we did more business in China. We did less in the United States. United States roared back, but it was slower in Europe. And so we're able to do that. When sports collapsed, our news business actually did quite well. So that helped. At the same time, as when news starts to slow down, sporting events actually picked up because they figured out how to retool and get back into the game. So for Ross, it was fairly flattened out. So I think the strategies worked out really, really well.
Yeah. So just to finish off on a high note as well, David, we started the interview talking about staff, and we've seen a huge recruitment drive at Ross. What's fueling that expansion?
I think it's a lot related to, I suppose, what we just said is we've got a really diversified product line geographically, market verticals, technologies, and this is just a continuation, I think, of what we've been doing for the last 29 years. So this is going to be our 30th year of consecutive growth. I think our customer base continues to see the sorts of things that we do and how we do them and how we take care of our customers. And at the same time, we're not slowing down. I mean, we budgeted to hire 100 more engineers this year to continue to develop products even more. And the company, I think, probably when we air this, will have ticked over 1,000 people. So it's that just gives us more ability to take care of our customers and produce great products and service them well. So I think we've got a really good formula that our customers like.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Fantastic. It's always good to find out news and catch up. And of course, thank you very much for coming in again and speaking to us today, David. See you soon, hopefully at a show. Finally, do have a look at kitplusshow.co.uk. Yeah, finally, do have a look at kitplusshow.co.uk for information on the very fast approaching face-to-face KitPlus show being held at Media City UK. So this summer we're holding it, hopefully, and registration will be open soon. And many thanks to Mediaproxy, who support KitPlus TV. You can visit them at mediaproxy.com. Thanks again.